ActionSA has today terminated Tshwane councillor Abel Tau's membership. He's been on suspension since last month following allegations of attempted rape levelled against him by the wife of a friend. The move follows a meeting last night which was convened to discuss the claims against Tau. ActionSA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont says after hearing evidence from witnesses, the party has saw it fit that the matter be dealt with through the courts. It adds, however, that Tau's conduct has brought ActionSA into disrepute. Well, Tau joins us for more on the story. Good evening and thank you so much for your time. So when we look at what your former party now has said about your behavior and your conduct, it seems that they had no choice but to fire you or expel you as a member.
Kathy, thank you so much, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to obviously set some of the issues. I don't want to say set the record straight because the issue is still obviously sub judice. Part of the matter is with obviously the law enforcement authorities, but the matter at hand is obviously around the disciplinary that the party saw fit to have internally. Now, you know, when you talk about conduct, really, for me, these are two different things because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that we can establish that there is a breach of any of ActionSA conduct that I have done. I mean, when you look at this, the main charge and in the disciplinary hearing, the main charge has always been that I have allegedly raped or attempted to rape a friend's wife. Now, after the hearing, we could not establish, or the disciplinary panel, one of the findings at number 49, I think, is to say they cannot establish that the guilt on that part, and therefore that they will look to the courts. And therefore the party then decides to say then they would test me on conduct. But now that becomes very problematic, Kathy, in that actually in the points in limine that was raised. But I've since spoken to my lawyers and given instructions to start preparing letters. I'm definitely going to be appealing this one at the High Court because you cannot test Kathy to say we think that Kathy took a microphone from Newzroom Afrika to home and that is a misconduct. And then stemming from that, you having that it was in the media all the time. And then later when we test those allegations, we cannot establish those. And then we say it's fine, we cannot establish
So the difficulty here for you, Mr. Tau, is the fact that what you're facing in as far as the rape allegations are concerned, that is a criminal matter. So it's not up to ActionSA to actually determine innocence or guilt on that issue. That is up to the criminal justice system. What your party has said is that during the hearings, they heard from several witnesses, and post the evidence given, they determined that there was a pattern of behavior that they found to be problematic, which is why the statement they've released today goes as far as saying that leaders of the party are entrusted with that position and it can never be abused for sexual advances or to subjugate women. And that relates to the general pattern of behavior that they believe you have towards women.
And Kathy, that is absolutely not what was found, in fact, in that hearing, and that is why my lawyers would be taking that up. What we have challenged and what ActionSA was testing in this thing. Remember, the reason everything was in the media was that it was because it is alleged that I've attempted to rape a friend's wife. Now, what you then were testing was that in the balance of probability, could that have happened? And stemming from that, you then can say, I've brought the party into disrepute.
But the party saying that, they're saying that on the issue of the case that you're facing, they leave it up to the courts. But as a result of this disciplinary hearing, they now have identified patterns of behavior from you towards women that are problematic and that they believe will bring the party into disrepute.
But Kathy, that's what I'm responding to. To say when we went into this disciplinary, the party wanted to test in the balance of probability whether or not there is a likelihood that that's what I did. That is what was being tested. The issues in the media had been whether or not I had done what he said, or I have the propensity to do what he said. Now, when they could not establish that, and in the hearing, because one of the things, and that is why I'm saying it's difficult to have a trial by media, that is why I am going to challenge this, because in the hearing, in what then came out of the hearing and the allegations subsequent to that are made are not necessarily what we were testing, because we were not responding to that.
Yes, but Mr. Tau, it doesn't remove the fact that this is what the disciplinary hearing has found, right?
No,
so you can contest. You can contest whether or not this is what they set out to find in the first place when they started this hearing. The point is that they have found that you generally have a problematic pattern of behavior when it comes to women. And that, I think, is the issue that you can respond to.
Yeah, and Kathy, I can tell you now, I don't have a general issue or pattern of behavior when it comes to women. I'm married for 23 years. Before my 21st birthday, I was married already with the same woman. I mean, I can go on and on. There's a flurry of women that I've worked with, both in my previous life in the public sector, as well as in this party and in other spaces. There's never been that problem. What we were testing and responding to was whether or not I might or might have not done what they said I did. And subsequently, people brought evidence that is unrelated. If this was what was being tested, ActionSA should have said, let us test your propensity to behave in a manner that is untoward towards women. And then if that is what I respond to, then I would challenge ActionSA to say, let's have that conversation. And then let me bring evidence to prove otherwise. The evidence that I brought to the hearing was to prove the case that was at hand. And then at the end of the case, ActionSA, when they cannot have that case that was at hand, then decides to then find me guilty on something completely unrelated. And that was established from the onset to say what are we responding to.
Not completely unrelated, because, some of course, if you look at again what the statement says, the pattern of behavior, abuse of power for sexual advances or abuse of power to subjugate women, it's not very far off from part of what you're being accused of in court.
Yeah, but the problem is that that's not what ActionSA put forth to say, I will respond to your propensity to abuse power, to subjugate women, and all of those things, because then I would have demonstrated that that is not me and that is incorrect. But then instead, what I was standing trial for, and that is what the point I'm making, was that whether or not I have the propensity in the balance of probability, could I have then taken advantage of the woman in question. And I'm saying they could not find that. But equally, if that is what we now need to test, then that's what we need to bring forth, because then I'll bring evidence to the contrary. But then you cannot now be tested for being late at work, and then when we realize that you speed on your way to work to make up time, then we're saying the behavior of our staff should not be that they are speeding, because that's not what Kathy was responding to. Then Kathy must be given an opportunity to respond to the speeding, and Kathy might just be able to say to somebody, actually, I'm not the one driving, when I'm coming to work, it's my husband. So these are two separate issues. When you test somebody in a disciplinary process, there is specific charges that are leveled against them, and they respond to those. And in this case, I'm in the media for allegedly having attempted to rape a friend's wife.
Ultimately, ActionSA is sending a strong message in terms of the kind of behavior that they want their leaders to be known for, and the expectation, at least, in as far as conduct is concerned, that the party has of its leaders. It's a move that has been welcomed by some in society, especially in a country where we have matters of gender-based violence being top of the agenda, not being taken seriously. There are many who believe that this is the right decision, given the case that you're facing before the criminal justice system.
Absolutely, Katie. I was the first one to raise my hand and say, let me be put on special leave while we are dealing with these matters. And trust me, I am for. I have been calling on everyone to support the alleged victim. I have gone out to say we cannot have a situation where we are going to make excuses for GBV. But equally, we cannot then, for expediency's sake, then be saying we are just going to, dish out harsh punishment, whether it fits or not, so that we can set some form of standard. It is not correct either. Justice needs to be seen to be served in a manner that is fair. And in this case, I vehemently oppose, especially given that if you look at what is said out there, it said, I'm searched for an alleged rape incident, which is not what the findings were. Finding one, and that it's conduct, and that was not what I was being tested on.
Mr. Tau, why not allow yourself to go through the process of the court, wait for that process to be completed, and then determine what your next step of action will be in terms of the organization? Because it's unavoidable that even on account of bringing the party into disrepute, the fact that you're facing these charges before the court, before the criminal justice system, and even when you have to have this matter go on trial, that in and of itself is likely to lead you in the same position of bringing the party into disrepute.
But, Kathy, I don't think that when you have a situation that is beyond you, I have not gone to the media, and equally, I think that I stood for principle. When I was being extorted on this matter, I refused to fall into that trap, and therefore, I still maintain, and I am very confident that the matter going into, the criminal justice system will reach a conclusion that we will be able to talk about. But equally, I don't think that I'm any responsible for being in the media on these matters. These matters where, while the processes were on, were leaked into the media precisely to have a trial by media and have the situation that it is. Therefore, I don't think it's fair. We've had a similar situation with Randall Williams, with his Kratos deal. We've had a similar situation with Solim Simanga and all of those people. And at the end of the day, you don't choose to be in the media because people have decided to leak things or to put things in the media space that are beyond you.
Yeah, but Mr. Tau, it's more than just being in the media. You have a case before the courts.
Absolutely. And until then, everyone is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And in this case, I'm treated very differently, as is I'm already condemned by the court. And that is where the problem is that everyone has taken a posture that there is guilt somewhere. And equally, that could not be established in this hearing, and therefore we then find something else. I mean, goalposts cannot be changed willy-nilly. Therefore, we must decide what we are testing people on. And in this case, I still believe that if I have to be tested for conduct, let's have a test for conduct, and then we can talk. We can have a chat.
Abel Tau, we'll leave it there for tonight.